All right, welcome to another stream on talking about Unreal for CG Spectrum. Today we have a lot to talk about with doing retargeting for animation, and it's kind of a direction that a lot of people ask a lot of questions for and have a lot of problems with. And I know that there's a lot of ways that this can go wrong. So I thought today would be a great day to kind of discuss a little bit about it. It also gives me an opportunity to talk a little bit about Motionbuilder, which I don't usually get to talk about because it's too big of a topic to really get into really easily. But with retargeting, I can definitely discuss a bit of those workflows that I've learned over the years. And also I can focus on the comparisons between when you're retargeting stuff in Unreal and you're retargeting stuff in Motionbuilder, what the pros and cons are, and what kind of results you get. And I don't know, it's a huge topic, definitely much more than what I can possibly cover in a 2-hour stream, but I think I can get a nice general overview of what we can do with it. And also what I'm trying to parlay into this is saving some time trying to build a little bit of an interactive game character. So in the past weeks we've been doing cinematics using sequencer and building animations, and I'll be coming back to that scene and trying to work with that. But last week we just did VFX for it, and so this week we're going to try and do what would happen after the cinematics over, where you start playing the game. And I think there's going to be hopefully some people interested in seeing how you can make an interactive character pretty easily, even as an artist. And also use your own animations or animations from motion capture. Or what I'm doing here is taking animations from the marketplace and retargeting them. All this stuff I haven't actually done. This is going to be my first pass on trying to get it done. The only thing I have finished so far is, if I jump to my desktop here, sorry, it's taking a while to figure out what I was doing. I have Motionbuilder here with the character that we're using for the scene and that we're animating with. So I'm going to do some, we're going to go through the process of how to set up our character in a way that allows it to be working in Motionbuilder and allows you to have a control rig that you can use to manipulate it. So the workflow is fairly similar to what you can do in Maya with HIK, but natively it was built for Motionbuilder, so you can get a lot better results with it. And Motionbuilder is a really powerful software that has the ability to take not only retarget animations from one rig to the next, which is what we're talking about, but also taking like point data, marker data that's moving around in space, and putting a system together that allows you to allows joints to follow it like a skeleton, follow just point data that's moving around in space. But it's not very simple to explain or talk about, and it's really just for people who have motion capture systems, particularly infrared Vicon style motion capture systems, rather than worrying about just the average hand keyed kind of work. So what we'll do first, though, I'll talk about how to set up a character like this where we've got it moving, but we're going to do it using the default Unreal character instead, because I think that might be a little more useful for people who are watching, because obviously they're not going to have necessarily the same character as I have. But and in order for me to retarget animations anyways, I need to use the mannequin character from Unreal and bring it into Motionbuilder so that I can have a source that the mocap is coming from. So I guess do a little bit of a backstory here. We're trying to get, there's content on the marketplace that has animations, and I think it's one of these animations that happened, or one of these marketplace items that happened that was free one month. It may not be free now, but it's the animation starter pack. Maybe it is always free. I don't know. It says I own it, so it makes me suspicious that it at one time cost money. Oh, it does say free at the bottom, so never mind. So everybody can get this. Excellent. And it's got lots of... No, you know what? This isn't even it. What was it called then? Oh no. Wasn't that it? Oh, here it is. This is it. MCO mocap basics. This is also free. Good. And in here we have a walk and a jog and a run. Which, I mean, I could just grab a walk and a jog and run from anywhere. I don't have to necessarily grab it from here, but these ones are all been retargeted already to the mannequin character. So, you know, we have sort of a basis of a standardized rig that we're pulling it from, and we're going to try to establish where we convert it to our player character. And they're probably like male animations. I'm putting it on a female character, and there's probably some discussion about whether that is correct or not. And my personal opinion is it makes such a subtle difference, it doesn't matter. But you know, we definitely did a lot of mocap for male and female, and it's really hard to tell when you're watching it on a character that you can't tell if it's a male or female. Anyways, so I'm going to open up the project, and we're going to start discussing some of the workflows of oh, we got Storm here. Nice. Hey Storm, so glad to see you here. So we're going to start discussing some of the workflows of sorry, I'm trying to move my screen out of the way here, of exporting content from Unreal, and so that we can use it. I think maybe what I should do first though is talk about how to do retargeting in Unreal first, because it will be a lot simpler, and we have you know, all the... Honestly, if this would be sort of the idea. If you're going to retarget something, first try to do it in Unreal, and then if it's not giving you the results you want, then your secondary solution is Motionbuilder. It's even possible that someday in the near future, Unreal is going to have systems that are basically solving all the problems that Motionbuilder can solve, and you don't even need Motionbuilder for retargeting. But at the moment, there are definitely scenarios where I keep having to go back to Motionbuilder to solve things that are just, you know, just a little too complicated to deal with inside of the editor. All right, so what I'm gonna do is, so I think, okay, so sorry, the version I have here, I was working on a little bit last night trying to make sure that everything was gonna make sense before I did my stream, and so I don't have any of the motion capture yet in my project, so I'm going to do that first. We're going to go back to the marketplace. Wish I hadn't closed it because I was right there. Go back down here, and we're going to add it to a project. The project is backdrop. Wait. Character sets. Okay, and we have two of them. One is in the backup, which is the one I'm working on offline, and then we have the one that we're doing for our stream, which I don't really change between streams, which so far has been useful. And so now it should show up in the project here. If not, oh, already, yeah, very good. So it comes with the character. That is where the animations are coming from. So if I open up this skeletal mesh, I should be able to see all the animations that came from the project. We've got the root motion ones, which is where the character is moving forward, and then we have the non-root motion ones. Somewhere. Not sure how the description of which one's which is being done here. IPC, I don't even know how that works. Anyways, we have the non-root motion ones, which is just where they're running on spot. And root motion is kind of cool, but not necessarily useful for cycles, I find. If you even want to see a root motion working properly, you have to turn on, for the sake of watching our hierarchy, you'll see that this is a red arrow, which means that the root joint is traveling forward with the character, and which is allowing it to be a root motion animation. And so you turn on enable root motion and the options, and that's telling the character to travel based on its root motion. And then there's a third step. You have to also enable root motion, which is under, oh yeah, here's process root motion. So now the character is basically, as soon as the animation finishes, the next first frame of the loop will start where the last frame was, because it's the root that is creating the motion, which can be really useful if you're doing an animation that requires a lot of changes of speeds. But for a run cycle, it's actually makes your life a little more complicated. And also, as far as I know, if you try to put a root motion animation in Sequencer, it causes a bit of a headache because there's no way to really compensate that without actually keying the character forward in space all the time. But it's possible there's a better solution for that. Anyways, we will turn off root motion. We will go back to our run. And anyway, so this is the animation we're going to try to retarget. Maybe the run and the jog. The jog's a little more casual, and then there's a walk too. So we should probably do the walk. Oh, if there's an idle. Never checked for an idle. Listen during. Look around. Oh, walking while looking around. Stand. That looks good. No. There we go. Here's our idles. Something around here. There we go. Relaxed idle version 2. So that's kind of what we're going to start with, I guess. We don't really need an idle, but when we put it together, the animation so that you're running around, I guess we do need an idle, and you stop moving the joystick forward or the controller forward, then we should be playing this animation. So we're going to retarget at least 3 animations for now and see what we get. So let's see here. We go back to okay, so there's a couple steps when you're going to retarget. And I'll go back to the skeletal mesh again, and it has to do, you go to your skeleton and you go, there's a retargeting manager that determines like how joints are assigned to what, basically they're looking, it's very similar to what we're going to be talking about in Motionbuilder. So there's a nice overlap here, but basically there's all these different joints that are generic, joint names that are generic, and then if your character skeleton has a slightly different naming convention for its skeleton, then you'd have to line them up so that it works. They're using the naming convention of the mannequin, so it's going to be the same one-to-one, which is handy. There's also an advanced column, which has all the finger joints and the twist joints and things like that. So there's quite a lot of various connecting that has to happen. And this is also true for Motionbuilder, where you got to manually go and say, this skeleton joint is for this part of the skeleton. And it's a humanoid, and we want to say view pose. And so when I say view pose, it's looking at what the retargeting pose is going to look like. And usually, and in fact in Motionbuilder, everything has to be T poses, so where the arms are straight out. And so in this case, the character's got an A pose, so the arms are halfway down. And it's the reason why T poses are better is because you can more accurately say, okay, the arms are definitely sideways or, horizontal, and I know that this character is going to retarget as cleanly as possible the other character. But when they're down at a 45-degree angle, it's really hard to kind of measure, is it 35 degrees or 55 degrees. So we usually do T poses, but this one just does an A pose. So we're going to see what we're comparing it to, and whatever we do, if we're going to retarget 2 characters, we want to make sure that they both have the same pose. Otherwise, you're going to have this giant offset on all of your targeting. So those are some of the settings that we have to look for when we're per character. So we'll go to our character. We'll go to their skeletal mesh. We'll go to the skeleton. So this might get a little time consuming here, because I do have to do this auto map thing now. So we'll make sure it's a humanoid rig, so it's going to have predictable amount of joints. there isn't really any other option, but I mean, technically you could also have a quadruped rig in there, and maybe they will have one in the future. We're going to do auto map, and we'll see what kind of choices they pick up, and hopefully they're going to be fairly accurate. And so this is where the time-consuming process is. So it's going to be boring, but very much necessary. So pelvis, waist 3 is spine 03. Basically, we're looking for that joint, which is spine 4 hips. Yeah, I think they're just, the names are all like all over the place here. So pelvis, root should be at the very bottom. This is down here, the root. And then we got pelvis, which I think is this one, the center one here, if I could ever be able to pick it. Pelvis. So that's our hips, or basically our pelvis here. So hips, and this is going to be one up from there, so waist. And one up from there, which is ribs. And then we got clavicle, which is one of the beginning points of the shoulder. So clavicle, arm collar. So this is, we're talking about the left arm. So that would be their right arm. So this is actually called, oh no, wait, I gotta pick this joint. Collar, okay, good. So collar, and then arm 0, Now this is going to be tricky because this has got all the twist joints joined right together. There's one of these problems I ran into before. So when I pick, come on. When I pick this, it's picking that joint. So when I want to do the elbow, I want to make sure I pick here to pick that joint, which is arm 05. Oh look, they picked arm 05 for me. That's amazing. I didn't expect that to work out. Let me do wrist, collar 5, or I mean, so collar on the right, 0, 5, wrist, good, neck, 10. Hopefully they're doing like a positional choice. That's maybe why it's working out. Like in space, of the distance proportion from where the previous joint was, which is amazing, but awesome. So here, neck, and then head is scalp. Oh my goodness, I don't know if that's right. We got a bunch of neck ones. Skull, that's what we should be having here. So skull. And then thigh, leg 0. I think that says leg 0. Yay. And then calf. Okay, so that says jacket, so that's probably not going to be right. Alright, so that's leg 06. This is the left leg. I gotta make sure I do it right. We're not in the jacket. The jacket's all these like pieces that are stringing down. So we're talking about, this is the right leg. So right leg 6. Oh, sorry, no, I'm supposed to be doing left leg. Left 06. Foot. Hopefully I can just eyeball this. Ankle. Thigh. Right 6. Foot. Right. Ankle. And then we go to advanced. I'm gonna try to like just hope that they picked a lot of good ones here. Oh, except for the jaw, that doesn't sound right at all. He went way off on that one. So we got arm. There we go. So we're talking about the right, middle, left. So left hand, middle, left. 3. Yeah, okay, so that's not probably going to be accurate. Let's just move on. There's probably hands and fingers and stuff. I can always fix this later and retarget it, but I don't think spending this much time trying to get these right is going to really matter that much. So we'll just go with this. Maybe we'll save it as this character's name. Now, if I do change the bone mapping, I believe I'm going to have to retarget again. So, you know, it's a bit of a pain, but whatever. All right, so that's good. Let's view the pose. We probably got an A pose, which is actually quite handy in this context. So we'll just leave it there. We got 2 A poses. They may not be perfect, but maybe they will be. Maybe we'll get lucky. And we'll save that. Make sure we got our character ready to roll. Okay, so here comes the retargeting part. We're gonna get the animations that we want to use and basically select them. They're the in-place animations. These are not the ones I want. There we go. Oh, that's what IPC is. Jog, run, walk, and stand, idle, relax, 2. Those are the 4 animations we're going to retarget. Right click on them, retarget anim assets, duplicate anim assets, and retarget. It's going to show up a window here that is our retargeting window. Here's our character that's the source of the character. That's the one that's got the animations. This is where the target is. And we've got one character that is compatible because we have show only compatible skeletons on, so we pick it. That should show up over here beautifully with a nice screenshot. I can totally see it. And we're gonna just say, oh, we want to pick what folder it's going to go into. Where should we put it? I guess we should put it in this character animation. And so it's quite likely that we are going to be doing this again soon, because we're probably going to find out our retargeting looks terrible. That's usually how it goes, but maybe we'll get lucky. Oh yes, we've got a beautiful mess. So a lot of this probably has to do with the joints that were in the advanced list are associated to the wrong pieces. So I guess realistically what I should have done was just remove them, and then they wouldn't have listened to anything and they would have disappeared. So like, let's say we go to here's the advanced list here. I'm worried that if I hit clear, it's going to clear all of them, but you can just like clear pieces like this individually. I'm just going to get rid of all the fingers. They're going to have the wood hands. I'm not even sure if the mocap or the capture that we're taking has finger animations anyways. Hey, Gavin's here. Yeah, gets lucky. Yeah, right. That's funny. Yeah, I wouldn't have bet any money on that though, by the way. There's like, I'll be just happy if I can get this to eventually look decent. Retargeting in Unreal is definitely a challenging situation. All right, there we go. So I'll save that. Save it over top of our previous one. And save this. And we'll probably have to get rid of these animations. But they're so beautiful. Which ones are we keeping here? We got this, and this. I'll delete them. All right, so we go back to our animations. The source animations. Walk, stand, relax, run, jog, right click, retarget, duplicate. Oh, there we go. Now we got a nice screenshot showing up. Goes to show it doesn't make any sense. So we'll go to the characters. Animation, okay. And we'll just give her a go. Hope for the best. Yes, we're getting much better results now. It does look a little manly, doesn't it? So maybe these are, it's a little more obvious than I was giving it credit to. Let's turn off the joints, so go to selected only. Okay, so there's a couple issues with the hand, and there's something that we have to do. See, what's happening is not only are we getting rotational, but we're getting translational data from the capture, and unless the two skeletons are exactly the same size, which they never are, you're always going to get some kind of distortion that happens as you bring the motion capture from one skeleton to the next. So as a skeleton, you can just solely rely on just the rotational data, and it would end up with a fairly good result. The only time it really breaks is, you know, when you've got two hands interacting with each other usually. So like if you're holding a gun and you got two hands holding the gun, that will cause a problem, because if your shoulders are wider, now your hands are more wider apart, they'll never touch the gun in the same way again. So unless you have some kind of crazy dynamic IK system so that it always stays in the same place, you're going to have issues with those animations, and often animators will just have to fix these things manually. Or again, create a cool interactive IK rig system that runs in the engine or something and dynamically adjusts, which wouldn't surprise me if that's quite common. So what we can do to fix that, to go back to the original topic, is when you go to the skeleton tree, there's a special secret option which used to be always visible, but by default now they've turned it off, which is show retargeting options, and that just gives you a list of how is each joint going to be influenced by the animation that's driving it. And this is going to affect all animations for this character, so it's not just you can't just say these animations use it one way and those animations use it another way. So what I usually tend to do, and hopefully this will work, is there's the root animation, which is well, okay, let's just start from scratch. So what you can do is switch it from animation to skeleton. So instead of going through each one and say I want skeleton, 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 you can just right click on the top of the hierarchy and say recursively set translation retargeting to skeleton. And so just by doing that, we should be able to go back to our animations and see that it's made some adjustments. You'll see the hands are no longer broken, but of course the body looks really boring. And that's because the pelvis that is bouncing around in the air is using translational data to determine how the motion works. Everything else is all rotation only, usually. So we just need to do pelvis. Let's see if we can just do this. Pelvis is animation. We go back here, and there we go. Now we got a bounce, and everything's fairly clean. Character's probably running off the ground. Maybe not, because we're still using skeleton as our root. So the distance from the root to the pelvis is still based on the skeleton's translation, so that, as opposed to the previous animations, or the retargeted animations, I mean. So there you go. I guess we're pretty close now. I would say, oh, the jog is much higher than the run. Oh, maybe not. Here's our casual, stiff-armed. That is so not casual. So there's something else wrong with our retargeting, probably. It's possible that the retargeting pose has maybe slightly bent elbows here, and then maybe this character oh no, this character has slightly bent elbows and our character does not. So it's ending up with a hyperextended arm system. So these are perfect examples of how retargeting can get complicated. We aren't even discussing potentially the problems, or at least we're not dealing with the problems of like the shoulders usually are wrong too. Like sometimes when you're doing your T-pose, it's very easy to have your shoulders up high or down low. And now you've got like two different types of retargeting. And so this stuff needs to be corrected. And you can correct it in Unreal, I believe. Let me just no guarantees here. You can set a key for it. So let's just see. I don't know. Let's see if this actually works. We're gonna go. First of all, I want to show the skeletons. Gotta grab number 6. All right, stop moving. I think that's 6. Yep. And then we can rotate it a little bit. Oh, that doesn't look natural. Guess I gotta pick this one up here. So slightly more natural, and then you hit whoops, and then when you have it where you're happy, you hit key, and it adds an extra key track down here, which is putting an offset on your animation. So I'm pretty sure it's just on that one, yeah. So it's only that there's only additive animation track layer on that one animation. So you can do slight modifications like that, which obviously is a pain in the butt because there's no IK system or anything. You're just basically rotating joint by joint, trying to figure out where it fits. So anyway, that's where you're at. Oh, just crashed. That sucks. I think I hit the save button when it crashed. Oh, Gavin says, I can't believe it's still like this, but then hard with so many different skeletons, etc. Yeah. It's, oh, I have an option to restore my file here. Yeah, it's pretty much the same setup as it was years ago. You're right, it hasn't really changed too much. The one big change that is coming down the line is the fact that you can do IK rotations and stuff. So I saw it in here actually, it's in the marketplace. I'm gonna do animation again. Let's see what happens. I think that's where I found it. Did it just crash again? This isn't even the same thing. Anyways, here, look, this is good. So we got this back. Let's try this. I don't know if it's crashing or closing. It could be either or. Marketplace. Animation. Oh, I'm not even spelling it right. Animation. Free. It's definitely a free thing. There he is. Control rig mannequin. So that's pretty new. And you can download it and play with it. I was actually thinking about playing with it in one of these streams. I kind of almost got to it earlier on. But anyway, this could very well be an interesting integration with retargeting that allows you to basically do what Motionbuilder does. And that to me is quite fascinating. So, in fact, it might even be possible. I mean, you'd have to kind of do it yourself, but it might be possible that, you know, you could, in theory, like do these animation offsets to your retargeting in a way that allows you to retarget in a very controlled manner. Okay, so here we have animations. I'm gonna leave that there, and we're gonna talk about Motionbuilder next because I think that's the more interesting thing that I don't usually get into, and also possibly the thing that I will get stuck with. So we'll see how that goes. All right, let's see. What we're gonna do next is, I think I've got to actually export the character still. So what I need to do to retarget, just like we did in Unreal, we have to have the source character mesh and the retargeted character mesh. So we're gonna grab the, I already have the source, no, sorry, the retargeting characters, which is the female character. I just need to bring over this dude. So I grabbed the skeletal mesh, which says right there, and I'm going to go asset actions, export, and that's going to give me basically the skeleton and the skin, and that's about it. So nothing else, no rig or no animations or anything. And I'm going to put that into our source folder. I have a motion. Oh my goodness. And I can edit template. That's exactly what I want to do. And it's right here in the folder. And I didn't do this. This is from... Oh, I did maybe do this. This is quite a recent date. I was actually looking for this last night, so that's kind of hilarious. Anyway, we'll just save it right next to it, and we'll just open it up and see what it is. So I'm going to save the mesh right there. Did I do this before? I'm having a having a moment here. Okay, so open up Motionbuilder. If I haven't got it open already. Yep, I do. And we're gonna just open up that file. So I think I'm inside the backup here. So I'm gonna go back to character sets. Motionbuilder. Let's open up this template and see how far it is. Yeah, it's the new one. Okay, so we'll put it into X-ray mode. See if we got all the joints in there. What the heck is this? I forget where to look to find out what it is. Oh, here it is. IK handgun. All right. Yeah, so that's the skeleton. Excellent. Is it characterized? Yes, but there we go. It was just temporarily invisible. Oh, look at that, it's already done. It's hilarious. I don't remember doing this at all, so I don't even know when I did this or if it was even me that did it. So characters, if you go to the characters inside of the navigator here, you can access pretty much everything in here. It's like, you know, from textures to takes to these character sets to the joints and their scene and everything. So in here I can grab the UE4 edit character, which is the character that we have up here, which is currently selected, and you can grab the character definition and see what's going on here. So this is very similar to what we saw in Unreal. We have the source name, and then we have the map name that goes to it. I guess these would be the source names. So these are the default names that Motionbuilder uses, and these are the names of the skeleton and how they're associated one-to-one. So this has already been gone through and carefully done. So it's excellent. I was thinking this was going to be another really boring part of the video where we have to go through and do this manually. The skeleton from Unreal, though, it has a naming convention that is fairly established. So it's possible that I was going to be able to like load it in or something. I forget how to do that kind of thing, but anyways, that's how you do it. Also, what you can do, instead of doing it this way, you can just bring them straight into the joints on the definition part. So this, when you first start, you end up with this definition screen, and you're going there and assigning joints and stuff to it. And inside of these down arrows is like, you know, the possibility of adding more joints to your skeleton, and just trying to turn them all from gray to green. And then in the validation status, they usually tell you things that might be an issue. It keeps disappearing. That's really helpful. Looks like the twist joints are in here, and they're not the valid roll bones or something. So not a big deal. It should be fine. All right, so we already have this. Excellent. Let's get right to the retargeting then. That'll be fun. So what we got to do is actually bring these animations out as well, and you have to basically have both characters in your scene. So I try to keep like a template file that's nice and clean like that, so that you can always just kind of bring it into multiple, various scenes that you might want to use for retargeting. But then you have the retargeting scene where you have like 2 characters in it, and you bring all your animations, put it onto one of the characters, and then you can drive the other character using that character, and you can see the motion right away. Very similar to what you can do in Maya, but you can take it further than that, which is the real advantage. Maya, you kind of hit a wall once you've gotten past that. Once you get the character driving the other character, now if you want to clean it up or finish it or fix it or do anything to it, you're kind of stuck, because these HIK rigs uses quaternion curves for doing the joint rotations, which is not what natively Maya uses. Maya uses Euler curves, so every joint is not really something you can go in into the graph editor and tweak easily. You have to convert it back to Euler, and then you get into all these gimbal lock issues, which the rig is not really thought about gimbal like gimbal lock issues. So you'll get a lot of weird twisting and rotating happening in Maya. But meanwhile, in Motionbuilder, you don't have that problem, because everything's quaternion, and quaternion, the math in quaternion just doesn't allow for gimbal locking. Anyways, that's another conversation. It's really complicated. So I'm gonna grab these animations. That's what I want to do. We're gonna get we're gonna get this source. Let's get the source animations, otherwise what's the point of retargeting it? So we'll do this. And the other nice thing about Motionbuilder is that you can do a lot of batch operations. So you can take like hundreds of files and then just say, do all these files, and it'll work away at it and get it all processed. There has been some workarounds that I've had to do recently for getting, oh, see, I'm retargeting it. No, I don't want to retarget it. I'm auto mode here. Asset actions, export animations. Now I'll be able to export them. I can't remember what I was just talking about. Oh, there's some workarounds I had to do for getting Unreal animations to batch retarget when we did some tests, and it has to do with just simple, like it doesn't name the take properly, so you end up with a whole bunch of the same take name. Just a simple issue. But Motionbuilder has a really good Python scripting language ability, and so you can go in there and custom tweak a lot of this stuff and make your own changes. In fact, that's what I did at Rocksteady. I did like a whole all the facial motion capture system for Batman Arkham City was handled in a Vicon motion capture inside the studio, and then we took all that raw data and converted it to moving joints around in Motionbuilder. And so the script was able to like find these markers that are moving around in space and convert them to joint movements, and also calibrate it to the character's face, and also allow the animator some sliders to tweak it and manipulate it and massage it, because there's just some things in mocap that you just aren't going to capture. Most obviously is the jaw, because the skin rolls over the jaw. You can't actually capture the motion accurately, so the jaws are never opening enough, because the markers are never moving far enough. And I'm pretty sure this happens with like other types of motion capture, like if you're doing video capturing stuff too. There's just like, because they're basically doing the same thing. They're just finding pixels of like things on your skin and determining how far they've moved in order to determine what kind of facial expression they should put on your character. And pretty much everything else on the face works really good, but the jaw is always a real bad one, because if you don't move your jaw far enough, you can see the teeth. And if you can see the teeth, it doesn't hit the S's. Well, I guess in that case you want to see the teeth, but like if the jaw is not accurately placing in the right position, you're missing a lot of the phonemes, and that was a common problem. So we'd always have to be going in there and massaging it a little bit and tweaking things to make sure that it all works. So that's what the tool did. And I wrote that all in Python inside of Motionbuilder. And it, you know, it took a long time. I'm not going to say it was easy, but at the same time, the tool is, Motionbuilder is built very open-ended so that you can do a huge amount of manipulation to pipelines. So when you look at the software itself, it looks very simplified. In fact, it hasn't really changed very much in the last decade. So it's very much the same formula, the same workflow. But meanwhile, it has such an open end for customization that's why it's still quite popular in the studios, because it's, you know, you can have a mocap system and pipe in your data and feed it off to another thing. Or it also has all these like devices that you can put in that are custom devices. So if you have all these interesting capturing inputs, you can bring them in. Like you could even bring in like game controllers and stuff and have that manipulating your how the data is being used or whatever, which could be quite interesting. I don't know. I mean, we never really got into that too much, but it definitely keeps it open. Well, I was really hoping that by talking forever, I was going to be able to like bypass the loading time that's required here for exporting these 11 animations. But I have no idea what's going on right now. Oh, look, there's a window over here. Oh, gosh darn it. Betcha I just had to hit export. All right, I have to do them individually. So much for batch exporting. I actually thought this used to do it automatically. I'm surprised I'm having to hit them every time. Is there a checkbox in here somewhere? There's not that many animations. Okay, so those are exported. Glad I didn't waste anyone's time or anything. So, like I said, I don't want to use the same template. I want to keep the template clean, so I'm going to save this as something else. Thanks, Star. Happens to all of us. It's true. Especially when you're dealing with computers. There's only a few things you have to remember with computers, you know, like a couple buttons or whatever. No, that's crazy. So I'm going to put this, I guess I'll put it in the animation folder, and we'll call it I'll just call it retargeting, because it'll just be referring to whatever's in the folder. We'll save it as that, and then to import those animation files that I brought in, I should be able to save motion file import. The wrong place here. In the wrong project even. All right, so we'll grab all of them. See, this is what I mean by the batch operations. You can grab a bunch of animations and it will try and process all of them together. I'm gonna do merge. Fingers crossed that it's gonna find a lot of the joints for us. And it'll tell us. Trying to merge 70 models into a 178 model scene. Only 68 models could be matched. Well, 68 models, that sounds pretty good. All right, let's do it. Don't show me this again. Continue. Boom, 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 boom. So there you go. Now I have all of the animations in here. I maybe shouldn't get so confident yet. I still have to see if that actually works. Currently we're using the control rig, so I'm gonna go to none. And shoot. Sideways. Gosh darn it. Let's turn off loop, or turn on loop here. Okay, so the sideways problem. That happens a lot because everybody's got different up axes. There is a solution for it in Motionbuilder, but I'm just thinking in my head whether there's a solution also for how we export. This is definitely something I've run across before. You just do one more asset export, and we'll see if there's any options here that changes the Y up or whatever. Force front X-axis. This is the crouch idle V2. Oh yeah, so you notice how when I imported it, they're all called Unreal Take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's the problem. They're supposed to be called what the export name was called. So yeah, unfortunately, you have to do a batch script for this to automatically find the name of the file and then use the name of the file for the name of the take. This is a specific problem where you're bringing animations from Unreal into Motionbuilder. I'm gonna probably talk about it. I can't guarantee it's gonna work, but definitely talk about it. I do want to find out though, is this crouch one fixing the direction? So we're gonna do a motion file import, crouch, open. We'll see. It'll probably just be the last intake. Oh yeah, so it'll tell me right away that it did not work. So yeah. So this came out as number 11, but meanwhile number 1 is probably the same one. Oh look, it did actually change the position. Oh wait, those are different animations. Oh, it's probably called Unreal Take. Yeah, okay, there you go. All right, so it's exactly the same results. Yeah, I wish I could tell you how easy this was to fix, but I do remember having some struggle here. So, like, it's basically, you can grab the main joint and rotate it. Or, wait, that's not the main joint, I guess. Take a look at the scene. Root. There we go. And we go to the properties, and we can rotate it by minus 90 degrees. And I mean, I think that's pretty much all you have to do. You may have to make a layer out of that. So animation layers is available in Motionbuilder, even animation posing, which is kind of a cool feature. So we're gonna, I think I may have just made a 1 keyframe. Oh no, auto key is turned off, so that's good. So we take anim layer 1. This is very similar to how it is in Maya with animation layers. So we're gonna key that. That didn't work. 90. Oh, sorry, key this. Key there. And then we'll have the upright animation. There's a problem, and I can't remember what it is, so we're probably gonna find out real soon. And so this one, animation layer 1. I only need 3 animations. I don't need to do all of them. So already we're looking at a comparison to how easy was it with Unreal versus Motionbuilder, and we already have quite a few headaches. So definitely the argument is you start with Unreal, and if you run into an issue where it's just impossible to retarget, which we do come across that fairly often, then this is your secondary solution. And of course, if you have raw mocap, then you have a whole different problem, because now you're dealing with like a whole 30-second take, which is, and you only just want a run cycle that's a very tiny run cycle out of it, or whatever. Or if it's a cinematic, then you would want you want to trim off pieces and all that stuff. All that kind of junk, it's really hard to do in Unreal. So when you're dealing with raw mocap, it's much better to be in here, because this is your animation tool set that you can work with. And it has story mode, which is like, story mode, which has like a nice clip editing software that you can do. It's similar to what you can do in Sequencer and Unreal as well, but it has a very nice intelligent footstep down knowledge. So if your pivot, if you pick the foot as your pivot, and it knows that when you step away from, what am I trying to say here? If you're going from one cycle, let's say, and you take a footstep down, and then you want to do a blend to a second motion clip where you have the person crouching or whatever, then it's going to use that foot and lock it down and make sure that foot doesn't slide as you blend your second animation down, and that blend will conform to that pivot of that foot. So you'll have the foot nicely locked down, and then you'll have the animation all do a nice job. So it has some pretty cool workflows. I'm not particularly super familiar with this workflow to be able to remember it on the fly, so I'm not really feeling comfortable about demonstrating that. But I know that it's much better than, well, from my experience, it's been much better than whatever Maya has tried to put together. So anyway, let's talk about the script. I want to just see if we can cover that a little bit. There's a very interesting scripting mode you can switch into, which just jumped to the other monitor here. And it has all your Python scripting ability here. There is a script that I have stored somewhere. Let me make sure I find it first. I definitely know where I can find it. So let me see if it's in this magical source folder, because I just seem to find everything here. Mannequin T-pose. Oh yeah, look at this. We've got a mannequin T-pose and everything. My 0 to T-pose with the old 4.7 U4 template rig. Is it possible this is the old rig? Maybe it is. I don't know. It seemed to have imported the mocap okay though. There was Unreal had a different looking rig that was blue back in the day. And then they had this fancy shiny one, but there's no textures in Motionbuilder, so I'm assuming it's just blue because of the fact that there's no textures. My JK had a template. Man, I don't even know where I got all these files from. Must have been from like one of the original courses that I did a long time ago. Yeah, look, it's even the same animations. Okay, I'm gonna go find this animation. It's over, or sorry, the script. It's over by another project I'm working on with AOR. Under the source, we have batch rename intakes. Root motion. Oh yeah, root motion. That's another thing. Let's go back to our scripts, or for our project here. I'll just paste it. Yeah, I'll paste it in the Motionbuilder one. This is just a simple text file. There's a Python script in it. I didn't even write it. I just found it on a forum somewhere. Actually, I did tweak it a little bit though, because it wasn't working right away. That basically looks for the names of the extra files, and then, or the names of the animation files, and then uses them to rename the intake files. Yeah, for me to write this, it would have taken an unnecessary amount of time. So I'm glad somebody else wrote it for me. Now the question is, can I load it and use it? I wonder if I can just drag it in. Yes. All right. I think it prompts me with some windows if I'm not mistaken, so I'm gonna see what happens here. I forget how this all works. So play the script. Oh yes. So select a root folder that what does that say? That's shoot. All right, let's pick the folder with the animations. I'm getting confused where I put these animations. Did I put them in here, or did I put them in here? All right, I'll go find them. Still can't remember where I put them. What the heck? What did I do with here? Oh, they're in Motionbuilder. That's where it is. Alright. Forgot. I haven't retargeted them yet, so they shouldn't be in that folder. They'll be here under animation, open. Let's see what it does. Oh yeah, it looks like it's working. We're getting lots of names in there. I don't know how it's finding out which was which though. We have like no intakes now. That doesn't really seem like it worked really, really well. Almost like gotten rid of all the intakes or the animations. So where's our takes? One take called mannequin retargeting. All right, let's read this for a minute here. Copy all files you want to process into a dedicated folder first. Oh, that's right, it makes the files. So I forgot about that part. Let's take a look at the folder. Now we have, these are the original files. And then we have a folder with all the ones that are fixed now. So all these files have the intakes. Sorry, with the takes renamed properly, I believe. So I should be able to import these ones and have them named properly. So the reason why I lost all my files is because I think it creates a new file, does all this stuff. It doesn't just use my existing file. So everything I did before I would have lost. So we'll do a motion file import, and we will do inside of this folder. They're not named FBX files. What's up with that? They are. They must be. Oh, here they are. They just showed up. Alright, so we'll do all these ones. Open. Grab this window. It's going to do a batch process, importing. And yay, there they are. They have the names now. Wasn't that simple? So I wonder if there's a way that I could share where this text script is. It's a pretty handy little script. I don't know, I can't think of what a good way to do that right now is. Well, I will, I guess I can put it up on Slack. It's not the best answer, but I'm just trying to help out anyone who happens to run across this video and goes, hey, look at that, how do I do this? It definitely did find it online. I definitely did do some fixes to it though. So I think we actually do have a Motionbuilder channel, library channel that we can post it, that I'm going to post it into. Let's see here. Motionbuilder. So I'll put it in here. Oh, yeah, Mocappies. This is a great website, by the way, if anyone wants to learn about how to use Motionbuilder. They have courses to learn how to do it. And they have a lot of, I think they have some free content as well that you can get into. So it's quite new as well. I mean, the fact that Motionbuilder has been around for like 2 decades, and yet we've never really had very good documentation. It's quite nice that they actually have, as of just very recently, created a lot of interesting documentation about how to use Motionbuilder. So it was definitely needed. The problem is there's not a massive number of people that use Motionbuilder, and there should be. I mean, if you actually go to the check out some jobs for animation, see if this actually works out for me here or not. There, see? Motionbuilder. Like, it actually comes up. It's actually a software that you have to know. So it's well worth learning. Anyways, so that script I will I'll throw up there. Probably do it after the stream because it's a little boring right now. But oh, I guess it's not that big of a deal. All right, I'm gonna do it right now just because I may forget. That's what I'm worried about. So batch rename intakes goes into channel of Motionbuilder, and I guess I should zip it. Well, I don't know. Maybe I could just drag it right in. Name intakes. Python script for renaming animations exported. Animation takes from files exported from Unreal. Is that easy to read? Python script for renaming animation takes from files exported from Unreal. 4. I can change the syntax later, I guess. There we go. All right. So moving on. Now the next problem we have is the animations are sideways. Or wait, hold on a sec. Does this even work? Oh, we have our control rig on. So let's get out of Python scripting mode here. Go back to editing mode. Turn off our control rig. Go back to none, which is just the bare skeleton. Ooh, this is still working. Is it gonna work? Oh my goodness, it's all working now. And this funny thing is that when I hear when I see this, I'm like, oh yeah, this happened before too. It was like it worked, and then I'm like, oh yeah, how did that work? What did I do? So that's fantastic. Maybe the script does it. I don't know. Maybe it does, because it is technically originally written for files coming from Unreal. So maybe it's also rotating your animations. How fantastic is that? All right, so that just alleviated the whole. I mean, I even got to cover a little bit how to use the animation layers, so that was a bonus too. So now what do I do? Oh, retargeting. Okay. So we'll save this, and then we'll put it. Now we got to bring in the other character, so we're going to merge another file. Characters of. Let's see what this is actually saying here. Pose. Oh, I know why. It's actually not in this folder. I did it from the backup folder. Backup, source, characters, Symmetro. Characterized. Let's steal it. This is a bit of a jumbly folder. Oh well. So there's our characterized file now. Open that up. This is all the icons for merging. You can say I don't want to merge in like cameras and stuff, so no. Kind of cool. I mean, it's just FBX files. Motionbuilder natively uses FBX as their file format for everything they do, so that's why FBX is kind of a cool format that supports a lot of things that are animation and model related. So when you're bringing stuff in and out of Motionbuilder, you can specify exactly what you want to bring in from it. You can say I only want, and this happens a lot actually, I only want like the characters or the actors or something that from that file, and that way it doesn't bring in all this other stuff that might be a pain in the butt. So here's our characters. We have our UE4 character, and then we just have character, which is super boring because I didn't name it properly, but you can rename it from the characters down here, and this is just Symmetro, and so now it says Symmetro up here. And so all we're trying to say is I want Symmetro to be driven by the other character. Oh, okay. So actually we got some things to do still. So the Symmetro character can be driven by another rig, but I'm suddenly thinking I have to put it on the control rig, but I'm not even totally 100% sure if that's necessary. It's also possible that, let me just go back to Symmetro for a second. Okay, we're still in definition, controls. We haven't actually built a control rig for it yet. Let's do biped, FKIK. There we go. Now all of a sudden we can be driven by the UE4 edit character. So Symmetro is going to be driven by UE4 character, and that is your retargeting process in a nutshell. If you want to hide, like, it's not quite finished yet, we still got to bake it down. This is actually very similar to what you'll see in Maya. If you want to bake it down, sorry, if you want to hide one of the characters, you can go to groups and make some changes in here, or add, basically they're like layers in Maya. So let's say we want this group here, we'll add it. Shoot, there we go. With both of them selected, and I go update. Let's try it again. We'll create it with it selected. All right, I'm missing something here. Geo, oh, that's what it is. Yeah, okay, so Geo seems to be the one. So I'll put Geo in here. Updates. Shoot. Oh, I have to select all the branches. Is that how this works here? Select branches. There we go. Update. Turn it off. There we go. Okay. It always is a little bit of a finicky process here. So same with the skeleton. I'll go select branches and update. So hopefully we're only seeing the one skeleton now. And we'll turn off X-ray mode. Go to normal mode, I guess. I think we're still seeing the other skeleton. We could just turn off joints. Not really sure what we're seeing right now. Maybe it's these ones right here. Whatever. I think if you go to modes display or visibility, you can turn off skeleton. You just see the meshes only. And so we'll hit a play button and see if see how the retargeting is working out. It looks like it's pretty clean. The feet are stuck. It's possible that we're using some sophisticated retargeting. I don't know. I forget how the flow really is, but there's all these options inside of the character settings. Which character do we have selected here? So this is Metro, using the input source of this. So anyway, this is what makes Motionbuilder supposedly quite powerful, is the fact that they've put a lot of effort into the solving of the retargeting to make sure that a lot of things are automatically happening for you to kind of make it easier. It's moving automatically, which is cool. I don't even remember that part. And there is feet stabilization, different kinds of offsets for different proportions, I guess. I'm trying to find something that I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. Oh yeah, here's one. So with the fingers, for example, there's options to get it to the fingers to like not fall through the floor, or the feet not to fall through the floor. I don't know if this is exactly where it is, but maybe the pull, right arm. No, that's for something else, I think. Reach, offsets, dampening, feet stabilizing. Anyways, there is some cool stuff. Like if the fingers come down and they cross the grid line of the ground, they'll automatically start rotating the fingers to show that they're pressing against the ground. It's like each of the fingers are all IK'd, so you can IK each finger in a way that, you know, the tip of the finger will cause the rest of the finger to bend and everything, which is pretty cool. I can't say, I know sometimes it's almost a bit of a hassle than it is a help, but you can turn it off or at least change the threshold of it. And it's, oh, finger solving maybe turned on. I don't know. Anyways, so there you go. This is some thoughts about the benefits of why you would go to all this trouble of getting this to work here. And I mean, the retargeting itself doesn't look too bad. So here's a spot where maybe the knee is going through the arm, and that might be an area where, you know, you create an animation layer and you would make some modifications to it, just like you would in you know, typical workflow you would do in Maya if you're trying to do mocap cleanup. But let me just save this. These it all just crashes all of a sudden. And then the pose controls is another interesting thing. So sometimes posing can be really useful if you've got your base standard idle pose that you want for your character, and you can store that as your pose and then paste it in to make sure that your loop cycles always come back to this base pose. There's some other tools with other softwares and scripts and stuff that will do posing, and I think it's a really useful tool. I still question why Maya never actually built like a posing thing that was standard with Maya. It's always like you have to get these third-party options. But anyway, so it's cool. But this one's a little finicky, I'm not gonna lie. It's definitely, you have to be very careful about how you're using it and some of the tricks that go with it. And I don't even remember what they are right now. Like, you can do mirror poses and stuff too, which is pretty cool because it's a pretty sophisticated tool set. I guess what I should have said was they should have shoehorned pose controls into Maya when they brought the HIK over. That would have been really cool. Then you would have had a base pose tool. I mean, I guess it would have been complicated because it may not have worked with everything else. But like, I don't know. To me, it's a real shame that animators don't have this pose tool all the time. And when you don't have it, you really miss it. So anyway, here's our animations. Oh yeah, so base animation. Let's just do a little fix on this one. Oh no, we're never really going to use the crouch one. Let's keep going here. Let's find one that we are actually going to use. Jog. Jog looks good. So if I want to tweak anything, right now it's just using the skeleton. So I would have to bake it down to the control rig, which is the the rig that you can animate with, before I can really do anything. Also, and not only is it on the skeleton, but it's actually dynamically being driven from the other character. So it's not even technically on. It's not even technically on this Symmetro character yet. It's just being fed from the other character. Because I could always just switch it back to none, and then we now have no animation. So, or if you go to stance, it'll do its default T-pose. So we'll go back to UE4 pose. The jog cycle looks fine. Let's take a look at the run. I guess, well, you know what we should do is we should switch it all over. So let's do that. We'll switch it over to the control rig right now. So when you want to do that, you want to bake it. So I'm going to bake the motion that's currently happening on these things, and we go bake or plot. They used to call it plot. And so we want to plot it to the control rig. We could plot it to the skeleton, which is useful if you want to export it, because everything that you take out of Motionbuilder needs to be on the skeleton in order for it to show up. But we're going to plot it to the control rig, because then we can maybe go in there and start manipulating the animation itself. So we go to the option box, and we're gonna a couple checkboxes we want to put on here. For some reason we always do gimbal killer, which actually, to be honest, goes completely against the whole argument of quaternion curves. But maybe that's just because we're converting the process over. But anyway, we always do gimbal killer. And constant key reducer, no. We want to do all the keys, otherwise we start to lose some of the quality of the animation. And if you want to make that manipulation, then you just do it with the animation layer. 30 frames a second. Okay, we're going to do plot all takes. That's the big checkbox I was looking for. So it's going to batch operate all the intakes over to the control rig. So now I no longer care that the UE4 character is there or not, because I'm running on the control rig. and we should be getting fairly similar results. Hopefully similar, anyways. And we're still not seeing the control rig over here, so it's possible it's super tiny, which I do remember is a problem that needs to be fixed. Remember how to fix it though. Is it the edit controls? That's how, there's 3 different ways to look at the control rig. So there's stick, wire stick, and box, but they are all, like, fortunately a bit too tiny. Maybe we go back to X-ray and see it a little better. So now what we have is the option to manipulate it, but it's keyed every single frame. So as I scrub it, oh, and also I don't have auto key on, or I did have auto key on, so weird. It's just like working with raw mocap in any of the software where you have a key on everything. Where's our sheet? So you can see our curves just like you would expect in any animation software. It has some cool features like filtering and stuff, which is kind of a neat way to deal with mocap where you need to... I can't even remember how to do filtering. Oh, here it is, filters. Where you can simplify the mocap and reduce the keys without actually having to delete keys. It almost looks like there's some filtering going on here, but not sure where that's coming from. And it, you know, if you do it carefully, you can reduce the keys without actually reducing the quality. Sometimes it's useful if there's noise or something happening on the joints, but you know, in this case, I'm not worried about that part. And then so yeah, animation layers, you would just create another, you'd go to your next layer, and you can make some offsets. Let's do a really obvious one. So put the hand out here, key that, and so now the run cycle will have the hand out to the side. So this is how you could do quite a lot of tweaks for, like, you know, fixing shoulders or fixing hands popping through other parts of the body. This HIK rig system is complex at best. You can see I can drag things around, and then undos is always a real pain in the butt. So we have a certain mode on right now, I think, that's doing full body, and full body allows you to, like, take things and it will try to dynamically pull the rig around with it. If you were in part body, no pull map, then you wouldn't be able to do that. You'd only have, like, the ability to change like a normal rig, and then you have, it goes even smaller. This, by the way, is new. I don't remember the blue icon character. It usually just went from full body to part body. Then we have body part, which is just the arm. So so what's happening, and there's lots of different conversations about how this works, and I'm not totally 100% with this right now, but full body is, if you make a key, you're basically making a key to the entire body, all the controls on the body. If you do part body, you're only making a key to the arm, the shoulder, and the wrist, this part of the body, the part that's highlighted. And then there's the last one, which is, like, I don't even know what it's called, component selection. And now you're only making a key to this part. So sometimes this can be useful if you're, I can't even think of a good example, but if you're trying to manipulate just one part, you don't want to have keys being dropped on all of the different parts of the body. And sometimes you want to have keys dropped on all the parts of the body. I mean, to be fair, we do the same thing in Maya when we hit S and we just key everything. So now this is a slightly different method of doing the same thing. But you just have to be aware that there's these different buttons. And sometimes, especially in Maya, it gets really complicated. And you're like, I'm like, I just want to rotate the head, and it won't let you do it unless you're in part body mode, and then you can suddenly rotate the head. Oh, okay, you have the opposite problem. All right, so you can't rotate the head unless you are in a full body mode, because it's I guess this is an IK system right now. So each one of these things can dynamically switch between IK and FK. You'll notice I'm like IKing this all I want, and then all of a sudden I can be like, oh, I'm just going to FK it right now, and it just seamlessly works, which is really cool and very unique, but also very complex, particularly when you're looking at the graph editor, because it's like now you have to realize that there's not that much magic happening. I think the yellow ones are your FK controllers. So this is a controller that has keys on its own. And then these are the boxes ones, the red ones in particular, are your IK keys. So you can pick your FK keys and your IK keys. And so the IK keys are different key controllers, different key sets, but they both move and key at the same time. So they can fight each other as well. And it can really get confusing if you're trying to fix a glitch or a hitch or something, particularly if you're doing hand-keyed animation, where you're pretty much driving the whole motion on your own. And you're making keys on the IK, and then all of a sudden you accidentally or unknowingly go and drop a key on your IK or your FK, and now you've got another key curve happening in simultaneous with your IK keys, and you have to be aware that, oh geez, I got these keys in here, I gotta get rid of them or clean them up. And so that can be I don't recommend anyone who's learning animation to use the HIK system for hand keyed, especially. I mean, if you're doing mocap cleanup, it's a different story, but if you're doing hand keyed stuff, it's like, no. Just there's tons of rigs out there that are way easier. It's hard enough animating as it is. You don't need to like add an extra element of complexity. But what is really cool about it is the fact that you can like basically animate it any way you want, or at least do tweaks any way you want, and it's all in there. And as long as you know what you're doing, this is a really cool rig. It's very sophisticated, and it's the same type of rig that was there a decade and a half ago. It's very effective, but does have its challenges when you're trying to figure it out. Let's take a look at walk. Okay, so there's some hands cut through. Maybe that's worth fixing. Definitely don't have any hand poses. So there's a good reason for why you want to use the pose controls. You can get the hands to be kind of in a nice natural pose, and then all of a sudden copy paste pose. Maybe we'll try to do it. See what kind of disaster I can create. So we'll go to animation layer. And we're gonna key this. And then we'll come through here and we'll do a little bit of a wrist turn and translate it out. And key that. And then I gotta go back to its neutral spot. So just like with any animation layer, you're kind of like working abstract a little bit here. I should be able to spot these curves. So you kind of manipulate them a little bit. I must admit, this whole argument about whether they're Euler or quaternion keys, I have no idea what the answer is, because this is just XYZ, and only Euler, quaternion has WXYZ and Euler has XYZ, so I don't know, I can be totally wrong about this whole theory, but I just know that if you bring the rig in Maya, they automatically are considered quaternion curves whenever you key anything by default. So I assume that there's some crazy magic happening here that's making this do what it does. So you're getting a nice XYZ controller set, but meanwhile it's technically a quaternion curve system. I could be wrong, but just never really questioned it before. Yeah, see, I just made that tweak, and now all of a sudden everything is feeling a little bit jiggly. This is the challenge of mocap cleanup. I'm not even trying to do anything complicated here. Need to make another key here. Yeah, what the heck? That's not looking very good at all. Comes in really fast to get to 35. Alright, well, in theory, we're gonna key this here. It's partly finished. We're gonna get rid of that key, or yeah, and then we'll move this down here. Copy that, move it to the first frame. Don't forget I'm working on the animation layer, so it's like these keys are just manipulations, not necessarily accurate positions in the world. So what I'm trying to do is create a point where we're getting kind of a nice transition of manipulation across the first and last frame of the loop. That way we don't have such a fast correction that happens at the end of it. Okay. Alright, it's a little better. Oh, and the other hand needs to be rotated a little bit, so we're going to do a bit of fix there too. Luckily this one's right, oh no it's not, it's right at the end. Alright, so we'll lock that down, and maybe we'll lock, who cares, and we'll just rotate this a bit, translate it out. There's a couple weird things about Motionbuilder. It's like you have to, when you undo, you have to undo twice, and when you want to deselect something, you have to double click away from it, which is kind of weird. It's like one of these, you know, is it really important that we do this? I don't know. You know what would be cool? I'm looking at that fabric that's like moving really bluntly as the step happens. We should try to see if we can do some cool cloth effect to that or something. Wow, this is fantastic. I love how that just switched everything around. Let me just save the file. Save it, and I should really submit this stuff. Hold on a sec. I haven't even submitted any of this before. No, that's not what I want. This is the files that we're working on right now. What is this? Mannequin retargeting. Where did I save that? Where did I save it? Oh, there it is. Mannequin retargeting. Oh, there's rename takes. Oh, that's the text file. So I'm going to mark these for add so that I can submit them. That way, I have a backup I can always come back to. Anyway, what was I doing? Oh yeah, I was going to fix the layout. So I should be able to go back to, can I go back to editing? Yes, that worked. Resets it again. I just go back to F curves, and I don't even know if I care anymore about what's going on here. I should have already, timeline was pretty clean at that point. All right, so there you go. I made some fixes. Oh yeah, so I was thinking, you know, the cloth, the fabric that's hanging down on the body, the way that it's moving very solidly, that's just a normal problem. I mean, it's inheriting the rotation of the pelvis, so like it's getting all the little nuances there. But I mean, there was a really interesting way to do that. I mean, you could do it with cloth potentially, but that's more of a vertex kind of movement. But there's also the new rigging system has a nice chain IK system, which you know, you could put that inside of Unreal and then or maybe just put like physics asset on it and let the physics kind of do its thing. I haven't really done that before, so I don't really know how well that would go, but you could also animate it, which is a little easier because you don't have to worry about all these weird variables if the character suddenly jumps or whatever. But it might just be an interesting experiment where you could like do a hybrid of animation and physics or something. Anyways, so that's our walk. So we got our walk. The only thing I need to look at is the standing idle, yada yada yada. Relaxed, is that it? Oh my goodness, that's a run to stop. Well, that would be handy to have a run to stop, but that's not what I'm working on right now. Relaxed idle version 2. There we go, nice and clean. So here the arms are a little bit forward. Let's put them back a little bit. This is retargeted better than what we were getting in Unreal, so that's kind of handy to know. That's probably because I did a better job of getting the T-pose on the mannequin figured out. Like there is definitely I had to have created a T-pose for the mannequin in order for it to work in Unreal. So this is that was an important step that I did offline apparently, because I don't know when I did that. It's a magical mannequin which just showed up there. It's very convenient. I mean, I have done it in the past for other projects. I just had no idea I put it in this folder already. Let's see here, base animation. So I want to go to animation layer. I want to key these hands, both of them actually, if I can. And we're just going to offset them back a little bit here, so that they don't look so far forward here. Key that. That should just sit on the animation. So it looks a bit weird with the elbows out like that, so let's try to do another offset. We'll just go back to frame 1. Try to do a little rotation here. See, this is kind of cool where you're seeing how you can just use the rig in any way you want. It just kind of has like tons of flexibility here. And you can switch your rotation from global to local if you ever needed to. You need a little bit more of a accurate rotation angles to what you need to do. Forgot to key this. Where is the auto key? I thought this was auto key. It is, so why is it not keying it? Maybe once it's keyed, it auto keys after that. All right, we can do a little rotation on the wrist here. All right, because I'm definitely like burst the rotation on the wrist a little bit. All right, let's see what it looks like without all this junk on it. We'll turn off X-ray mode. Oops, we'll put it back to normal mode here. That looks fine. And the feet are nicely solidly locked down, which is always good to see. It's the biggest problem when you're doing mocap retargeting is like, oh, the feet are sliding, and it's like, oh, geez. All right, so we're good. We have all of the animations we wanted to do done. I'm going to save the file one more time. We're going to bake the tweaks that we've done over to the skeleton. So plot bake to skeleton, gimbal killer, constant key reducer off, plot all takes, and like it's pretty harmless, just plot stuff. I mean, you know, unless you're overriding something you don't want to get rid of, but basically it's now sitting on the control rig and it's also sitting on the skeleton. So you can have that advantage of just knowing that it's always in these two places. And when you set the source to none, then you're going to see what's on the skeleton, the raw skeleton. So you can see here that we've got the animations are there ready to go. So when I export them, they'll be there. All right, so I'm going to do motion file export. No, wait, I forget what I'm doing here. Motion file export? I don't know if that's right. No, I don't think that's right. I'm gonna do save as. Save selection, that's what I want to do. Save selection. We'll go back to the navigator, grab the character. That's the control rig. So I want this one. Select all branches. Apparently the geo is in there as well. Isn't very good. I think all I want is the rig, not the geo. So I'm going to import these as animations. So I kind of want to make sure that the skeleton is very similar to what it is in Unreal. In fact, if I just jump over to Unreal and we take a look at, no, not these ones. The Symmetro character, skeleton. It's got auto rig in it as the parent, so I gotta kind of match this hierarchy. So jump back to Motionbuilder, and here's our auto rig. I'm gonna go select branches, and we go file, save selection. Where am I going to save it to? Well, let's put it, we're in Motionbuilder, so we're actually going to move over to Symmetro. We're going to make a new folder called animation, and mannequin retargeting. That's actually not what it's going to be called, because I want to hit this checkbox. I'm going to say save one take per file. Use take name. We hit save, and then we go, I mean, we could export everything, I guess, but realistically, I would just sort of like pick only the ones that we want, which is, you know, the walk, the run, the jog, whatever. But we'll just do all of them, except for those two, I guess. And let it rip. And so it'll go and batch operate all that stuff out there. Let's see if we get a folder full of files. I'm in backup. So confusing. There we go. So whole folder full of files. Let's you know, I could actually just import all these files. Why not, right? I mean, I've retargeted them all now, so sounds awesome. Might be a couple weird ones. So we go back to Unreal, and we're just going to import the animations. We go to animation. Some of these are that's not even the right thumbnail. Did I do this? What's going on here? I'm so confused. Why are these still the old character? I don't even know. So confused. Oh, I need the posing one though. That's the one we have our cinematic in. I'll delete these ones. Oh good, they're not even, well, that's not true. And we're gonna import the new animations. I'm just sitting there going, did I not notice that it was on the wrong character this whole time? I just, you don't know. Is my brain that ridiculous that I just didn't notice? Or did I save it somewhere else? Alright, so we're going to import all these animations, and it might take a bit. We want to make sure we pick the right skeleton that we're going to import them to. I think everything is pretty much good to go to import all. The fact that it's not saying error, this means we're going pretty good so far. But yeah, this usually does take a while. And I'm not sure if that's... I don't know. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because they're doing the compression as well, the animation compression while it's importing, but like especially for really long scenes, they can really take a long time to import the entire animation. But I don't remember it taking this long when we go from Maya to Unreal. So, but I guess in theory, like, I don't know. Anyways. Sometimes I wonder if it's like my own doing. I'm doing something wrong and I should be able to optimize it and fix it. But I don't know if that's the case. So, it's gonna take a while to import. What else can we talk about while we're waiting here? Maybe I should have just picked the ones I wanted to import instead of just do all of them. And unfortunately, because this window is like this, I can't actually do anything in the meantime. So I guess the idea, what we're gonna do, hey, I know what I'll do. I'll switch over to my cam here. What we're gonna do after this is we're gonna move the, we're gonna take these character animations, we're gonna start putting them together in a into a blend space, and well, I guess, yeah, no, they're gonna have to go into a blend space and do an idle. We'll create a character animation blueprint. We'll create a character blueprint, and we'll start putting together all the different elements that we need to do to have this character run around the scene. And we'll do it from scratch rather than trying to do it from like a template file, because it's not that hard. I mean, it is a little bit, there's a lot of steps, to be fair, when you start getting into mouse control, keyboard control, you know, doing your inputs and stuff. Like that part, I wonder if I'll be able to do it on the fly or not. But it's definitely something an artist can do, and I think that's the biggest push that I usually try to do in the class and the courses, is just to say, hey, as an artist, you can do this. You don't have to have a programmer. You don't have to have anybody super smart to solve this problem for you. It's just everything's all in blueprints. You just do the wiring, and you can get your own character to run around the scene, so you can see the animations that you're creating in the game. And I definitely want to kind of portray that in this stream series, where, you know, it doesn't, as a single person, you can do all this stuff. And maybe that illusion is no longer as prevalent as it was when I was in the industry back in the day, because it really was like, geez, you want to put this animation in the game? Okay, we'll talk to the animation programmer and they will do it for you, magical coding, and then you'll see the result and you're just like, that didn't look as good as I envisioned. And you're like, geez, I wonder if it's just because this blending time needs to be fixed. And it's like, well, you can't do anything because it's out of your hands. And so then you need a really good animation programmer to kind of handle that. So that's obviously, those days are well behind us now. We have way more control, and artists have way more control with making stuff. And I find that really exciting. And you can definitely see lots of examples of that, where animators are making awesome stuff. Maybe what I should do is switch over and we'll show you the, there's a really good project being made, like Omni, I think it's like Omni Game or something, that is, I have it posted somewhere up here, I'm sure. There it is, Omno, that's it. And so this guy's still in production. It kind of got thrown for a bit of a spin with the whole pandemic stuff happening, but he raised a lot of money on this Kickstarter a couple of years ago now. I think it was 2018 or 2019. Anyways, so this is like, he's just a single guy, single animator, making lots of stuff, using Unreal Engine to build it. I find it really like inspiring, because it's definitely taking a unique perspective where he's got a particular vision that he's trying to shoot for, and and he really like enjoys polishing the animation, and I think that's really neat because there's lots of respect for the believability when you play a game and having it connect through consistent animation. I definitely appreciate it. So anyway, I backed this Kickstarter when it happened because I definitely was like, hey man, this is awesome. He's doing it on his own, but he's still working on it. And this is actually, there's a lot of footage here I haven't seen before, so he's making progress. Or maybe it's the original one. I have no idea. But anyway, games take a ton of work, so it's actually I don't really feel envious of the fact that he's taking it on by himself, but it does give him full creative freedom, which is important if you're trying to have a specific vision and look that you're going for. These are cool, the surfing ones. I really appreciate the detail he's added to that, because I find in a lot of games you have this aspect where it's like you can't really see the oh goodness, I forgot what I was gonna say now. Shoot. I was trying to see if anyone was chatting with me here. If you guys have anything you want to add, please feel free to talk to me so I can talk about something while I wait for this animation to import. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. So yeah, with a lot of games you find that they just kind of fudge the physics, fudge the realism. I particularly hate it with like racing games that are arcadey style, and you're just like, oh, I'm hitting my handbrake and now I'm in a power slide, now I'm out of a power slide, and you're like, yeah, well, it's it's good because you can get full usability of, everybody can play it without having to spend hours getting used to the fidelity of being able to go into a slide. But at the same time, you're like, well, it's way more fun to see it and way more thrilling when you see it like working well when it's actually realistic. So as an animator, I appreciate that he's really putting some nice details into making sure the animation looks good. It does really, from a gameplay perspective, that's probably making a lot of game designers cringe, because it's like, you really have to make sure that the player feels like they're in control and the animation isn't driving the whole gameplay, and that is definitely a thing. But what are you gonna do? That's not what's necessarily happening here. He's even got this cool little side character here. Well, unfortunately, I'm running out of time, and I've still got a fairly large percentage of files to import. This totally sucks, because I'm like, this is not how I wanted to end the stream. I wanted to make sure that I at least looked at these animations, made sure that they worked, and we're like at this level of tempting, should I wait for it or should I kick out and do another one? Depends on how long these animations are. So I wanted to see if the motion capture retargeted and imported properly, but I also want to just demonstrate how you can throw them into a blend space a little bit and get a preview for what we're going to try to do next week, before we get into too much more stuff. Eventually I will go back and, oh look, we're gonna get it done. We'll go back and do more polish to the cinematic sequence, make sure that that's a finished scene, but I kind of appreciate the fact that it's not fully finished yet. We have only a blocked out sort of animation at the moment, and I think that's useful just as a realistic workflow where, we're not quite finished, but that's okay because we can make some pretty significant changes without a massive amount of work. And so we can maybe see how this cinematic transitions into the gameplay, and maybe we'll have some ideas where like, oh, let's, instead of running downhill, they'll enter a ship or something. I have no idea. But there's a lot of different perspectives of that we can change. We don't feel so locked down because it's a finely polished animation. And when you're talking about video games, that is definitely a normal problem that happens. All right, this is gonna be it. I swear. The last slider bar. Yay! Now let's see if the animations look good. Oh no, they're all coming in sideways. Oh, shoot. All right. Well, anyways, I can fix that later. It's possible that because of the correction that happened, it's now all gone in an angle. Okay, so the way you fix animations that come in sideways is you go into their actual properties of each animation, and you would be able to adjust its import rotation. So The only downside is in order to see the result, looks like a fly. It does. The only way to see it is to re-import it again. So I'd have to hit re-import to see if this 90 degrees is gonna do it. I almost say minus 90 would seem more logical. This should be it's a car. It's a transformer car. It's gonna turn into a transformer. Yeah, it really sucks though, because like well, okay, we'll just do the one. We'll do minus 90, import rotation, re-import animation. And yeah, it's going to take a little bit of time, but you know, we'll see. It should at least see a difference in the positioning of where it imports. And once you get that number down, you just put them in all of them, and we'd have to re-import them all. And from there on out, every time you re-import, it will use that offset on it, which, you know, it's not crazy. It is a little crazy, but it happens all the time with my imports. So yeah, there we go. Minus 90 was the right idea. So I guess we could do it for, we got the crouch. Let's do jog. Minus 90, re-import, and then we'll do the idle as well. Maybe if we have time. We don't really have time, but why is the jog so huge? I mean, it's even shorter of a timeline here. So it's like it's only going to be like what, 25 frames or something. Why would this take so long to import? Also, let's make sure that the animation is importing okay without all these joints showing. Selected only. Yeah, that looks good. We could have done a finger pose thing, probably make the hands look a little more natural, which we could do in Motionbuilder. The workflow at this point is pretty easy. You can just go back to Motionbuilder, make some tweaks, export, send it back in, and you just hit re-import animation. And so like once you get it all set up, it's pretty quick turnaround, but it does take a while at the beginning. Let's do the idle. Minus 90. And re-import. So we'll, I don't know, we've only got 2 minutes. It's, oh good, that happened nice and quick. There we go. Okay, so what we'll do next week, see if I can actually do this the way I was hoping I was going to be able to do it. What we'll do next week is we're going to create we'll create some blend spaces where we can put together some animations. So basically, right click on the skeletal mesh, we go create blend space. Probably a 1D blend space is all we need right now. I'm going to put that into animation. And so when you open it up, you get this bar. And so I can put in my idle that I just converted. Select idle, so I'm going to put that on one extreme, and then I'll put the jog on the other extreme. And then when I hold shift, I can change between is the character jogging or is the character standing. So, you know, we would do the same principle where we would have the run cycle and the walk cycle in there, and it would transition between them. And then this is the kind of the control system that we're going to use to build the run sequence, where you push the controller forward, they start running forward, and depending on how fast you push the controller, you can get it to change speeds. All right, so that's pretty much where we're at for today. It worked out quite well in the end, which is amazing. But if you guys have any questions about the kind of stuff that I'm working on, or ideas for things that you want to explore more, I'm happy to go back to Motionbuilder and do some more work in there. If you have some more areas that you'd like to learn about. But for the time being, we're all set up for next week, where we can do some more work, creating the gameplay part of it, which is pretty exciting, and we'll be able to see where that goes. So I'll leave it there, and let you guys go, and I'll see you again next week. Take care.